Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Dr. Renee, along with Will Kingston, Christo Fufas, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show, Christo.
Yes, we're going to be talking about aspiration and ambition being over in the UK.
The left still despises the working class.
Labour are the party of death.
There ain't no black in a Union Jack. And think the unthinkable. It's time to rejoin the EU.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, folks, and yes, I have somehow wrangled myself into the big seat. It feels good, really good. Never let it be said that I am a slow learner. After watching Alex Armstrong bulldoze his way to the top spot week after week like a man possessed, I finally put on my medical hat, diagnosed the situation, and before Alex could reach for a lemsip, poof, he was gone. Just kidding, of course. Alex is on a well-deserved break, and with that Back next week, fully recharged and probably very resentful. Now, to the week's headlines. It really has been a two-topic wonder this week. On the one side, the ever-escalating drama in Iran, and as we sit here, the world holds its breath, hoping that World War III doesn't break out. And on the other, the long-overdue Pakistani rape gangs inquiry, which Labour finally backed after years of dismissing anyone calling for it right-wing. But hey, welcome to the right-wing, comrades. Tea's on the right, moral clarity's at the back, and no, we do not do trigger warnings. Meanwhile, breaking news, summer has arrived. Yes, the sun came out and Britain remembered that it had legs, and every park became a festival of burnt sausages and sunburnt dads refusing to wear sunscreen because sunscreen's for softies. Of course, this called for the usual public health panic. Stay hydrated, wear a hat, don't cook yourself like a Greggs sausage roll. You know, just the sort of brainy advice you'd expect from the same people who thought that clapping cured COVID. Anyway, by way of being a responsible doctor, I made my own weather public health video to guide you to the appropriate reaction to this heat wave. Back home, Angela Rayner is strutting around like the cat that got the cream, a ministerial pension and maybe half of B&Q. She reportedly outmanoeuvred Reeves in the spending round and secured a cool £39 billion of taxpayers' money for the house builders, a move that's either a genius economic stimulus or just a gift-wrapped bride with a big red bow. Either way, Ange celebrated in style. Rumour has it she was spotted high-fiving herself in the mirror while mouthing girl boss and ordering a flat white with taxpayers' tears. And of course, we want to know your views tonight as well, all of them. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com your say. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. We promise to answer them, so go for it. And don't forget to vote in the poll today. We're asking, should Britain follow the USA if it goes to war with Iran? Should Palestine Action be declared a terror group? Or is the new generation of weight loss drugs a good thing? But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with Sam Francis.
Renee, thank you, and good evening to you. Breaking news tonight at 6. We're hearing a British man has been arrested in Cyprus on suspicion of espionage and terrorism offences. Local media there say he was spying on an RAF base and may have links to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. He was reportedly seen near the base with a long-lens camera and 3 phones and is accused of planning an imminent attack. The man was arrested on Friday after being tracked to a flat near Limassol, close to the UK's main airbase in the Middle East. The Foreign Office has said it is in contact with Cypriot authorities over the arrest. Also breaking tonight, GB News can confirm that nearly 1,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally so far this weekend. 437 arrived on Friday, with more than 500 others making the journey already today. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to at least 9 small boats in UK waters. 2 more vessels were en route earlier in French waters, where new powers allow police to intercept boats 300 metres from shore. One group this morning was forced to disembark as officers slashed their vessel to prevent making another launch. In Brazil, at least 8 people are known to have died after a hot air balloon crashed in the south of the country. Officials say 21 people were on board when it came down in Santa Catarina state. Footage online showed the balloon catching fire before dramatically plunging to the ground. 13 survivors have been rescued so far, and emergency teams are still searching for any others. The state's governor has confirmed the deaths and called it a tragic accident. It comes just days after another fatal crash in Turkey left 19 people injured. Israel has launched yet another wave of strikes deep inside Iran on the 9th day of conflict between the two nations, killing a top commander and exposing cracks in Iran's intelligence network. Their foreign minister is warning United States involvement would be very dangerous, but the US president says he's not ready to tell Israel to back off just yet. Tehran is now refusing talks with the United States until bombing stops, while claiming its nuclear program is entirely peaceful. Foreign Secretary David Lammy, meanwhile, says the crisis is deadly serious and is warning diplomacy must win. Well, last night, Donald Trump addressed reporters about the crisis. Here's what he had to say, speaking in New Jersey.
The material that they've gathered already, it's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
Back here at home, Dame Esther Ranson is urging the House of Lords not to block new assisted dying laws in England and Wales. It's after MPs backed the bill yesterday by just 23 votes. It would allow terminally ill adults with under 6 months to live to end their lives with medical help. Opponents, though, say the law is being rushed through without enough safeguards. But Dame Esther's daughter, Rebecca Wilcox, told us here at GB News the process has, she says, been careful and considered.
It is a gold star of assisted dying laws. In fact, in the case of it having so many safeguards within it, it's actually incredibly difficult to access it. And it brings in criminal prosecutions of up to life imprisonment for anybody that has been found guilty of coercion. That doesn't exist now. It's a brilliantly safe law that has been talked about for so long. It has not been rushed through. There's no such thing as a perfect law. We all know that. But this is pretty close.
Well, we'll take a look at the weather in just a moment, but first a breaking line to bring you from Belfast. We're just hearing police are investigating a potential attack on an Islamic centre in the city that could well be a hate crime, according to police in Northern Ireland. A viable device reportedly thrown through a window during evening prayers. The scene cordoned off overnight and members of the public asked to avoid the area. So that detail just coming into us from the Northern Ireland Police, and the Secretary of Northern Ireland also saying that she is deeply concerned by what she has described as a shameful attack. We'll keep across any developments on that story for you throughout this evening. But you may well have noticed it certainly is hot outside. Summer has well and truly turned up the heat. 33.2 degrees recorded today in Surrey, making it the hottest day of the year so far. Temperatures could climb even higher tomorrow, with forecasters warning we might just hit 34 degrees Celsius, which would make it the hottest June day in 6 years. But it's not all sunshine. A yellow thunderstorm warning is in place for parts of northern England and Wales, with flash floods possible. And as the sun rose over Stonehenge this morning, record-breaking crowds welcome the summer solstice, marking the longest day and, well, now the hottest day of the year. That's it from me for now. I'll be back with you for another look at the top stories in an hour. Now, though, it's over to the Saturday 5.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5, and over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. But let's crack on with tonight's first debate, and because I've managed to get into Alex's seat, I am definitely going to do the first debate. So this was a dark week for the UK. Labour forced through 2 major legislative changes, neither of which they mentioned in their manifesto. In just 2 hours of debate, they decriminalised abortion at any stage in pregnancy. A law that did not need fixing was rushed through with barely a pause for scrutiny. Then, in just 95 hours of debate, they legalised state-sanctioned assisted suicide. For context, Parliament spent 700 hours debating fox hunting. These are literally life and death matters treated with less care than animal welfare. It is important to note that this was a free vote and MPs were not whipped to vote either way. You'll see here how they voted, and the votes in favour included 20 Conservatives and 2 of the 5 Reform MPs. Kim Ledbetter, who seems unusually fixated on this issue, filled the committee with supporters, silenced opposing voices and deliberately restricted debate. 3 royal colleges, the physicians, the psychiatrists and the pathologists, publicly disowned the bill. They said that they had been ignored in pursuit of absolutist principle above understanding. And the idea that safeguards will protect the vulnerable is fantasy. Elderly people will be coerced that ending to die is the right thing to do, especially when and it's a small lottery win for their family. Unusual things happen to people around wills and money. For those with mental illness, the idea of true consent is complex and, if possible at all. And disabled people already often feel like they're a burden. In Oregon, often held up as a gold standard model, more and more people are choosing death due to financial or emotional distress. Let me be clear. I understand suffering. It's literally my job. I know how and why people look for an escape. If it were only about me, and if no one else were affected, I too would want the right and would vote for it. But it isn't. This will kill others, the elderly, the disabled, the voiceless, who don't truly want to die. I can't put my personal wishes above their safety. We need proper palliative care where people can have a peaceful, pain-free end, and where suffering persists, deep sedation is already an option. But right now, only 1 in 4 people actually access this. People are turning to assisted suicide not out of freedom, but out of fear and lack of support. This is not compassion, this is neglect. Labour are the party of death, and this is a shameful moment for this country. Will.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why they've got to this point. I think the really interesting thing you said there was it wasn't part of their manifesto. And yet at the same time, this sort of kind of culture wars, university politics stuff is more easy than reforming the tax code, than, dealing with the problems around social cohesion, with the really pressing issues in this society. I feel like this is just kind of Labor falling into their comfortable university politics area, as opposed to dealing with the things that are more pressing in Britain.
I think it's a really interesting point, and I think the other interesting thing is that although it was a free vote, there was a clear Labour split to Conservatives here. 20 Conservative MPs voted for. Labour, almost all of them voted against. Labour, almost all of them voted for. That's odd in a free vote, I think.
And it's a real example, I think, of how you actually... I think having a majority in a government is a good thing because it means that you can get a decisive government. But actually, massive majorities are not always a good thing because then you don't get that scrutiny and you don't get that debate and you don't get the conscience splits that I think you need in a well-functioning parliament. And I thought that statistic that you just gave, 700 hours on fox hunting, yet hardly anything near that when it came to this bill was really shocking. I'm about a small state. I believe that actually, on principle, if I have not very long to live, it's nothing to do with the state if I want to end my life. But this isn't about, as you pointed out, personal choice. This is about what is right to legislate for. I'm really concerned about people with mental health problems, people with things like anorexia. Do you know that there have been, I think, nearly 60 deaths worldwide, assisted deaths as a result of someone having anorexia and being put on that pathway?
I would argue that somebody with anorexia has mental illness and can't consent. But I just want to get Kai's view on this, because you are one of those Labour people. Would you have voted yes?
No. On balance, no. And I think, Esther Ranson coming out after the passage of this bill and saying it was rigorous and safe is quite a joke, isn't it? Because what we've seen in this process, the bill was initially published 18 days before the first debate. You've mentioned 97 hours of debate in the House of Commons around this. Now, let's be clear, it was a private member's bill. It wasn't officially backed by the government, so the fact that it was in the manifesto isn't that much of a big deal. But actually,
if they wanted to stop this from going ahead, they could have.
But if they really wanted it to happen, it wouldn't have passed with a 23-person majority. The fact is, Kim Leadbeater, and I think lots of her parliamentary colleagues are quite angry about the way that Kim Leadbeater has led the proposal of this debate. She's been unable to rise to the importance of it. She has browbeaten and smeared opponents and denied scrutiny.
Trey, I can't help but feel here that we're not valuing life either in the womb or at the other end, on the vulnerable and the elderly.
There's quite a few things you said, because I even thought about, older people. Some people have power of attorney over their older relatives, and, if there's a nice pot of gold, it might be the case that they encourage it. But it's also weird, because I've got a personal take on it as well. I was in hospital age 15, and I was paralysed. I went for a lot of my time dealing with health issues, thinking, I would like to end it if my health got really, really bad. I never would have done it, but I like the thought of being able to do it. Of course, everyone knows about dignitas and things like that. But I think bringing it into legislation, there are so many avenues for it to be abused. And the fact that 700 hours was spent debating fox hunting, this should be scrutinised left, right and centre. It's so rife for abuse. So rife for abuse.
I see the elderly every day who feel like they're a burden.
And that's the worst thing about how this has passed, is it's an emotive issue. That's why it was a free vote, is so many people have personal stories of themselves or a loved one. And but however, we knew that there needed to be safeguards, proper safeguards, and this needed to be passed, if it did need to be passed, in a sensible way. And it just hasn't happened that way.
And also after perhaps a decent amount of funding for palliative care. If palliative care was properly funded.
I mean, charity funds palliative care in the main.
And then they said, right, OK, it's still not working. Then at least there's scope for a debate. But they haven't even given the other option, a decent chance.
I think last time this was introduced, I think there was a previous private member's bill, if I'm correct, over a decade ago now, that had buckets more scrutiny than this one even had. But you'd think you could have a proper debate, and we're at the point where we can have a sophisticated debate about these issues because there have been so many of these cases across the world where it's been abused.
To be honest, I think the abortion side of this is much worse and more morally abhorrent than the assisted dying side. That, for me, is one which I cannot believe that we are adopting American-style politics into the United Kingdom. Right. But surely we had the balance right on abortion before.
Yes, I think we did.
Yeah, surely in a difficult issue, when you can say that a fetus is viable outside the womb at around 24 weeks, that is a reasonable time to put that limit in place. Yeah, but I can't believe that this has happened.
You know what, though? What we've seen in the last decade is US politics, whether it's on DEI or trans or whatever, being imported wholesale into the UK. On both sides, I think that's a problem.
Right, I'm going to stop you now because we've got lots more big stories on the way, everybody. But now is your chance to win, and this is where they've been trying to trip me up. £54,321, our biggest cash prize to date. All of that tax-free cash could be yours, and here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life. Somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back. Will, tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, Nigel's been at the races this week, and it's a wonderful little insight into the warped mind of the leftist. I will give you that insight after the break.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Now, please get in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. We really want to hear what you have to say, and I will read some out when I've calmed down a little bit, and get your questions in for Ask the Five later. But right now, it's time for our next debate. Who's going next?
Yeah, I'll take it, Renee. And as an aside, what a privilege to actually have a professional host after what we've had to deal with in recent years. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Farage has been at the races this week. There he is, looking resplendent. Now, who cares, you might say? Well, the left, as it turns out. Many people on social media, and in fact several people in the mainstream media, have said, how can this man looking resplendent in his top and tails understand the working class? Look at Theresa here, one of thousands of tweets along these lines saying that this man is conning the working classes. She even then goes on to say, imagine if this was Keir Starmer at the races. Well, as it turns out, and as an aside, Theresa, I think we actually have an insight into what Keir Starmer looks like at the races. Let's see this one. That was last year at Doncaster. No, Starmer doesn't do well with the working classes, and it raises a very interesting point, and that is that the left still don't understand the working class. After UKIP, after Brexit, after the example of Trump in the US, another very rich person who seems to understand the working class in a way that the traditional working class parties don't anymore. And you know the reason why they don't understand them? It is because they think that the working classes are like them. The bourgeois middle class left, and let's face it, that is the left now, seem to think that the working classes are bitter, resentful class warriors when they are not. They are aspirational, they are patriotic, and they can laugh at themselves, and that is something that Nigel Farage understands on an intrinsic level. And you know what? Guess who's ahead in the polls at the moment? If the left don't understand the working class in a way that they haven't been able to for probably 30 years now, they will lose, and they will lose badly to Reform at the next election.
Thanks, Will. I think we have to throw to Kai for this one, because these are your people.
And if I'm right, viewers have asked for a trigger warning before I speak. So.
Talking about the bourgeois middle class left. Over to you, Kai.
All right, that's enough. Look, I love this switcheroo trying to make this about class. It's not about class. People are angry because Nigel Farage is simply absent at key moments. And it really degrades...
What did he miss?
It degrades the fact that he is the leader of Reform, that he's doing so well in the polls, and yet on Tuesday he missed votes on abolishing the prosecution of women terminating a pregnancy. He's missed votes on crime and policing. You'd think he'd be interested in that. He's turned up for 36.5% of votes in Parliament, and that would be fine if it wasn't part of a pattern. The Fisheries Committee in the EU, when he was an MEP, in the last term, he skipped 2/3 of them. Now, come on. He was one of the dead last MPs for turning up and doing votes. He doesn't want to serve in Parliament.
Right,
he wants to perform.
Because I want to get everyone in. Christo.
I think that you have a very, very good point about the issue, and it's something I'm going to touch on actually as well, about the issue that people in this country have at the moment, and this really insidious loathing of people who seem to have any kind of wealth, going to the races and looking like you're enjoying yourself and you're wearing a nice outfit. No, you can't do that. You've done well for yourself. And that's something that has gone on for years, and it's gone on with successive governments. I think it started in the financial crash, actually, as well. People getting... it used to be in this country that it would be seen as a good thing if, for instance, you try and save some money on tax, you pay a bit less, you keep a bit more of your salary. But now it's this constant sniping.
So let's say... But my point is, it's not the red wall working class that are feeling that way.
Yeah.
There's a reason why that class are still so in love with the monarchy and the Queen, particularly before she passed.
Because they have aspirations.
But let me, guys, behave. Let me give the last word to Trey.
Yeah, someone who sits here bang clearly in the middle. I kind of can understand that. I think there is a sentiment amongst some people that Nigel Farage might be, you know, putting out a certain type of image, but it may not be that authentic. I get it. I don't think it's just people on the left. I think there's
But
lots
it's not
of people
showing in the polls,
that
is it?
No, it's not showing on the polls yet. But at the same time, I think, well, you're right. I think it's just any mud to throw at him to make it stick. And it actually makes him more Teflon, actually more stronger, because I don't think he cares, does he?
Renee, sorry, can I say something surprising? I actually do agree with Kai. I just don't think that is the argument that most people are throwing against Farage. It is a class-based argument. But you're right. I think it is very concerning that he has missed the level of votes that he's had.
Yeah.
Right, OK, so who is up next?
Well, speaking of Kai...
Trigger warning, everybody, it's Kai.
No, Kai started speaking about himself in the third person.
I did, yeah, I should stop that. Look, it's a pleasure to be here for Renee's first go in Alex's chair. I'll miss the cheeky side-eye that I get when I say something ridiculous and she catches my eye out of camera. Look, I'm going to say, look, it's time to think the unthinkable, finally, and it might be time to rejoin the EU. Now, you want honesty, I'll give you honesty.
Ooh.
Brits want to rejoin the EU. They
I think I have made my first mess-up of the evening.
Is it not?
No, you've got to listen to Kai twice.
No, is it not my go?
And I think coming up, Kai, it's going to be you. I'm sure somebody in the gallery will correct me, but I think I have done that. Yeah, so we're actually going to go to a quick break, Kai, and you can say that all over again.
Oh, no.
Even better.
With a straight face.
So...
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave across parts of Spain, Portugal and France continues this weekend, with some places seeing temperatures peaking in the mid to high 30s or even 40 Celsius, so very hot indeed. Otherwise, and there are a few showery bursts here and there, but actually a lot of dry weather around, high pressure often in control. And if you do get any dry, sunny weather, well, it is going to feel very warm or hot indeed, and more sunshine to come as we go into the beginning of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming nights, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day, to decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day, so Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still, the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers, though, will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher, though, compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, everybody. You already know who's going next, so let's get that done with.
I have to shuffle my papers. What am I going to say? No, look, a poll that came out from YouGov this week showed that 56% of Brits are in favour of rejoining the EU. Now, 67% do just want a closer relationship without rejoining. But look, this is incredible. A clear majority of Brits now think that we want to rejoin the EU. And if you're surprised, well, you really shouldn't be. We were promised control, and all we got was chaos. Brexit was sold, as we know, by a bunch of snake oil merchants. Sadly, they're still with us. And what did we lose? Well, freedom of movement for Brits, especially young Brits, to live, love, work and retire freely across the 27 states. Trade access has led to paperwork mountains, customs delays, new tariffs. Erasmus axed. The political capital, we were part of the big three in the EU, gone, evaporated. Northern Ireland, we've seen a betrayal with a border in the Irish Sea. And what have we gained? Blue passports, produced, of course, in Poland, crown symbols on pint glasses, and, of course, Jacob Rees-Mogg's famed audit that found that we could maybe, what was it, change the road signs to show miles instead of kilometres, or some such rubbish, I don't even remember. Look, what we've gained also is the politics of division. It's fractured the country, and there's no sign of that stopping, and it won't stop until we make the right choice and begin to get closer and closer to the EU and eventually, I hope, rejoin. It may not be now, but I think that's in our future. What do you all think? Are you starting to regret?
Right, no. I'm going to jump in here because I want to read you a message because I think it's the best way to start. So Chris HG says, Kai wants to be honest about rejoining the EU. He's not started well because he said the majority want to rejoin. That's only true until people are told how much we'll have to stump up to rejoin, the sacrifices we would be expected to make. Once people are given that information, the polls will change. I think Chris might be right.
I don't agree. If you weighed it against what we've lost, and just the sheer amount of loss in trade and in goods and services with the EU, the friction that we've created, I think on balance, people will make the choice to rejoin.
People don't care. May I just say congratulations. Congratulations on finding an even more annoying Ramona than me. For years, I was that annoying Ramona.
You were.
And then I shut up after the 2019 election and I listened. Brexit was an emotional decision that people made because they had been not listened to for years. The damage it would do to democracy to have a referendum again this soon would, I think, be irreparable. So I agree we've not got the Brexit that I think was sold, but I think that on balance, people don't care about those facts. They care that they were listened to and that they made their voices heard.
But these numbers have nothing to do with Brexit. Brexit is a scapegoat now for long-run social problems in this country and long-run economic problems in this country, which are then blamed on Brexit. And you can see that because every decent bit of economic news, and admittedly they're few and far between, but no one ever says that's because of Brexit, and every bad piece of economic news is blamed on Brexit. This is because the country at the moment is in a very deep, dark place and Brexit is a scapegoat. Yeah. That is purely what those numbers represent.
Can I just jump into to sort of always agree with both of you? Look, realistically, I don't think we should or could have a revote anytime soon. What am I doing? But I actually think about being pragmatic about this. But I do agree with you. However, what we've seen in the past few years is that Brexit as a sort of pressure valve for the anger and discontent that we see across the country, that vote wasn't the end of it, right? I think every general election since has been that. And that's why we see people yo-yoing between, giving Labour a massive majority and now looking like they want to give Reform a majority. I don't think that anger has found its way out because of the Brexit.
I kind of agree with Kai a little bit. I think people feel a little bit shortchanged a little bit. We were promised a better outcome after Brexit, and it hasn't quite transpired. And I still think there's a sense of anger. I don't think the boat situation has changed. In fact, it's got a lot worse. So people are thinking, what really did we get out of it, other than some sense of autonomy? But we don't have that much autonomy.
I get that, but I think people are looking across Europe and seeing similar problems with migration that we have. Germany's in a terrible place. The Nordic countries are in a terrible place, and they're thinking, well, actually, they're in the EU and their migration is as problematic.
The big problem was that the Brexit was put in the hands of the absolutely moronic Boris Johnson.
You love Boris, don't you?
I absolutely. He is one of the most damaging characters in politics. He and Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer, actually, I put them all together, because immigration went up under him. And the problem is that the big fundamental problem of Brexit, he and the deal he got did not solve.
Yeah, but the bigger thing above and beyond Boris is that the execution has been left to a uni party that does not fundamentally believe in Brexit. And there's no doubt there, as a result of that, your execution is going to be off.
I almost think that Christo's point at the beginning is the most relevant, that to actually undo this deal now would damage democracy beyond repair.
Yeah, that's true.
No government is going to go near a referendum for a few decades at least.
For another quarter of a century at least.
Yeah, and I think, I don't think never, but I think certainly
a long time,
not for another couple of decades at least.
But if you want to talk about democracy being irreparably damaged, I mean, I think that's happened already.
But the thing
and it started, I think, arguably, it started with Brexit or with the Scottish referendum.
OK, well, we don't agree with you. That makes a change.
Well,
Christo, what have you got next?
Well, unfortunately, we are facing the highest taxes in history. Businesses are going under, people are becoming unemployed, and really, what's the point in working hard to give it all away to the government? Aspiration
and we're looking forward to hearing it
are over in the UK.
Thank you, Will.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You.
That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday Five. I'm just trying to keep Will in tow, honestly.
That's
very really naughty.
Says she.
Big Willie.
Right, who's up next?
It's me.
Go for it, Chris.
OK, I want to talk about aspiration because my father came to the UK in the 1970s and he and my mum were absolutely dirt poor. One of my earliest memories is them sharing a meal, and it was Thatcher's pro-business government going into the early 80s, low taxes, creating an environment where my dad, a man who left school in Greece at 11, couldn't read or write English very well, ended up working every hour he could because he was prepared to start a business where within a few years, my parents had a lovely house, 2 Mercedes on the driveway. That hard work and aspiration really got him somewhere, and having a government right behind him. We now live in a country where I would say that's not possible. You're taxed to oblivion. I had to write down all the taxes: income tax, national insurance for employers, VAT on school fees, stamp duty up, capital gains up. Millionaires are leaving in their droves. The number of payrolled employees is going down. Insolvencies are going up. This government is encouraging a climate of wealth, jealousy and anti-business sentiment. So, what is the point in starting a business? Working hard if the government is all going to take it away? Is ambition and aspiration just dead in the UK?
It's more than that, isn't it? Yep. Because this government doesn't understand the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve basically is if you increase taxes, less people will end up paying those taxes. And they don't fundamentally understand that if you are wealthy, you are capable of being mobile. You're capable of moving your money elsewhere. And for every millionaire that leaves this country, 50-odd people in the working or middle classes need to pick up that slack in order to make up the shortfall in that tax. This is a dire economic situation.
This is a very important point. Kai, whenever I discuss this with anyone on the left, they say, oh, let them go. If they're not cemented to the country, let them go. But what do you say to that? Because it doesn't work.
Look, I don't want to see millionaires fleeing the country. I think I'm probably of the Blairite sort of Mandelson era that says, you know, sure, people can get filthy rich if they want, but this idea that this country was always sort of aspirational and embedded ambition, I think is a myth. This country has never been. No, it's never been for the people who work hard and build businesses. That is peddled by elites to keep us compliant. But when 50% of the land is owned by 1% of the country, when 39 out of 54 UK
Is this just out of your Marxist playbook?
Went to Eton. No, this is. But what I'm saying is that this country has always been for the elite. And it's not true. We've been maybe a bit more aspirational in the past. That is an immigrant. He just said it.
Don't talk over each other, guys.
But to another point, though, wealth might be fleeing, but we don't see that kind of attention from this panel given to the fact that real wages have been stagnating for 15 years. Investment as a share of GDP is plummeting. Child poverty is rising.
Yes, I do care about that.
Those are real issues, and I don't want them fleeing, but have to say I care more about the fact that people can't put food on the table than the fact that millionaires are paying more taxes.
Do you know how wealth goes up and wages go up? They go up by creating growth. You do that with the wealthy.
Trickle-down entrepreneurs. Please.
And you legislate properly, firstly, for it. But the idea that we are not an aspirational nation is ridiculous. But also, you're right, real wages did stagnate. Isn't it interesting, though, when anyone actually ties that to immigration, people on the left of the debate absolutely shriek in horror. And again, it's not just about the people fleeing, it's about people who are here, who might say, right, I want to start a business, I want to work hard.
Okay.
And why would they?
Right,
why would they
so
now?
I think we've all established that Kai's talking nonsense, so I'm going to just move to Trey. Trey, what have you got?
So, I've got the story this week of a councillor that apologised for basically saying that the Union Jack should be removed, and I want to say something about that. So, they say there ain't no black in a Union Jack, and I heard a lot about that growing up, and like many others, I felt a sense of unease around the flag. But as I got older, I knew that that was wrong. You see, there ain't no black in the Union Jack, but there is red. Red that runs deep, centuries deep, soaked in the soil from every corner of the empire. Red for the blood spilled by black Africans, by Indian Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, West Indians, the Irish, the Commonwealth, and of course, millions of white British soldiers, all serving an empire regardless of their status in that empire. So no, there ain't no black in a Union Jack, but there's blood. And that blood runs from all of us. Maybe it's time we stopped being afraid of the flag. Maybe it's time we reclaimed it, not as a symbol of exclusion and division, but of truth and recognition. Maybe it's time we honoured everybody who bled for it, everyone who helped build the Great Britain.
Well, it's always been, I think, a feature of the liberal elites in this country that they have this self-flagellating instinct about the country, that they equate the Union Jack with colonialism, with empire, with all the bad sides. You know, it's awful that said years and years ago that the rich would rather steal from the poor box than be seen to be supporting the United Kingdom. This is just this continuation of this self-flagellating instinct in the Western world that equates patriotism with the far right or fascism, and it's something which we need to get a handle on. I think you've said it very well, Trey.
Yeah, I think there's the other thing, though. I think I did grow up hearing that a lot. There ain't no black in Union Jack, and if a dog is born in a stable, it doesn't make it a horse. And I think there have been elements of the far right that have said there ain't no black in Union Jack, therefore you don't belong. And I think for someone like me of Nigerian descent, my ancestors gave to this country way before they even set foot on this country.
Fair,
and I think that message is often not shared with people, where people don't feel they belong.
Mate,
and I think we need something that unifies us like a flag.
Mate, that sort of rhetoric isn't coming from the far right. That sort of rhetoric is coming from the liberal left.
It is.
They're the ones who are trying to say that this is a racial thing. It's not the far right that's got anything to do with saying that this is somehow racial. It is the class and race obsessed.
But that was a BNP, slogan.
No. So I think Trey is right. Bear in mind that I went through the 80s with a black man as my partner. I have witnessed this too. But I think that was then. This is now. And I don't think proper people feel about this now, but I think it suits the left to use it to divide people, because the left divide people.
I think... Look, I'm not saying we should jettison the Union Jack, but the fact that Trey grew up on, there ain't no black in the Union Jack, that suggests that this is not some new fad.
No.
But what I would say is, similarly, I grew up in Wales. My whole family is Welsh, pretty much. And it's a common refrain again and again. There's no Wales in the Union Jack. You've got the white saltire of St Andrew, you've got the cross of St George, the red saltire of St Patrick. There is no Welsh at all in the Union Jack. Now, despite that, actually, yes, fewer of Welsh people support the Union Jack, 68% compared to 80% of English people, but actually Scots are the ones who dislike it the most, and 25% apparently associate it with racism. So there is a question to be asked, but what does it mean to be British? And you can't just force people to reclaim a Union Jack or believe in it. The fact is, we are where we are, and there are some people, quite aside from the racial elements, just don't believe in it.
And it's for that reason, because people don't see that their own ancestors actually fought and bled for that flag. And I think if people got that they did, they will see that they're also stakeholders. And I think that's what we need. Almost like, well, what is it to be British?
So what we come back to the question, therefore, is how do we do it? Do we insist, do we legislate that we put the Union Jack in all classrooms, in all government buildings?
We just need to stop focusing. We've all been through it, whether you are gay, whether you're straight, whether you are black, whether you are white. There is things in history which have been terrible for so many people. But at some point, we have to try and get back together. We have to be united. We have to draw a line under things, acknowledge it, obviously have a nod to it, know that it was there, but we have to talk more about what unites us than divides us. And we are obsessed in this country because of the freedoms we enjoy, with probably good intention, because we've such good freedom of speech to a point in this country, with dissecting all of the issues of the past without actually going, you know what, it's quite all right at times. The people in this country are great, and the politicians not so.
So what do we say to the Welsh?
Well, again, I'm of Greek descent, but I'm part Welsh. Got to get over it.
Can I propose a response? And also this goes for the Scots even more so. The fact is, you contributed quite a lot to empire and all that, so if you want to look back in anger, then you might want to start with yourselves.
Well, exactly right. Empire, the British Empire was a force for tremendous good across the world. A force for tremendous good.
I think it's really interesting if you look at the comments that are coming through on this, and they are almost unanimously in praise of what you've just said. You know, Catherine Blatchley says, nice one, Trey, brilliant, unite the United Kingdom. Jackie Phoenix, thank you, I love the Union Jack. Richard, oh no, not that one, that was about you using Jack instead of flag. Patrick O'Sullivan, as a first, I agree. There is a class structure that we need to overcome. I think it is very interesting that most people are agreeing. And I think we have to find a way to move forward, not to look back at what we've done in the past. We can't change it.
Yeah, and it's a bit like what Mandela did, isn't it? Sort of the truth and reconciliation, because you might say that the British Empire was a force for good, but there are a lot of suffering that also happened. So it's about acknowledging that without punishing necessarily, but at least acknowledging that it happened, and I think that will start healing. Because there are a lot of people that feel they don't belong, even though they have given so much.
It's the only
so I'm not looking at it from a left-wing point of view where it's bad to be British and the Empire just stood for bad things. There were a lot of great things done, but you have to acknowledge the things that weren't so great.
For the last 20 years, we've done nothing but acknowledge the bad stuff. What we haven't acknowledged is spreading the rule of law and democracy to parts of the world that never would have otherwise had them. Rights for women,
spreading
rights
democracy.
for minority groups, all of these sorts of good things that the British Empire did immense good for. That's the stuff we don't talk about now.
That's a different conversation, because I'm sure someone in Libya with bombs raining on them from NATO may not say spreading democracy was good.
What's Libya got to do with it?
Because you're talking about spreading democracy. I think this is what we need to do. I think the flag should be in every school. We should potentially look at singing the national anthem. There should be something that starts to connect. Why are you saying "ooh" for? But see, that's one of the problems.
We have our own anthem.
Okay, wait. But okay, everyone should look at how can we actually start to get together as a nation rather than the division that we're going on, which you say, Will end up at a civil war. I'm trying to avert that. What brings us, what unites us rather than what divides us.
If
that's what I'm interested in.
I love the Union flag. The first response shouldn't be, but what about racism? What about the empire?
Yeah,
what
it shouldn't be,
it shouldn't be. Sometimes you should just be able to celebrate it. There's a time for conversations like that, but we just seem to have them constantly when anyone shows any kind of patriotism.
And yet,
I think that's wrong.
It is overwhelming in your say. Really, you're telling us all the way through. There are people saying, Kai, we love you, and those like you, you're a decent fellow with a good head on your shoulders. She just says she's embarrassed in saying that. But, you know...
Kai or Trey?
Sorry, Trey.
Even Kai knew that wasn't true.
Excited then.
It can't be me.
OK, sorry about that.
I was getting so excited.
That was PW. Sorry, PW. OK, so, everybody, hush. Loads more to come on the show tonight, everybody, including the Saturday Scrap. What do you want us to debate? Getting involved in Iran, banning Palestine action or weight loss jabs. Go and vote gbnews.com poll. And what's going on at our biggest migrant processing centre? You are with the Saturday 5, only on GB News, and we want to hear from you. Your views are really, really important, and I will read out more. This is my first night doing this, so it's quite hard to pull it all together. But please do send us your comments. I will read them out, and I will also go to Ask the Five later. So please get typing and enjoy what's coming after the break.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. To decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled fume at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later, bye-bye.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV. I'm Dr Renee, along with Will Kingston, Christo Fufas, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
we will be bringing you all the best trigger tantrums of the week.
Iran, Palestine or Ozempic. We're going to reveal what you chose for the Saturday Scrap.
We've got our first big interview with Henry Bolton. One of our biggest migrant centres is basically been described as a tinderbox.
We'll be bringing you our bunch of 5, and could pizza be the start of World War III?
And which celebrities feature in this week's Trigger Tantrums?
It's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. So there's still loads more of chaos to come tonight on the show. They're just talking over me. Should we wade into the geopolitical hornet's nest that is Iran? Should Palestine action be banned after vandalising an RAF base and a plane? Or should we scrap politics altogether and bicker over whether weight loss jabs are a medical marvel or just Ozempic for the overly optimistic and lazy? Your vote decides which poor panellists get shouted at the most. So head over to gbnews.com/poll now and let democracy do its thing.
Huzzah!
And of course, we want to know your views as well, so send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com, your say. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the 5. No topics are off limits. Ask us anything. But before we start tearing each other apart again, it's your Saturday night news with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight, just after 7 o'clock. GB News can confirm that nearly 1,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally since Friday. 437 arrived yesterday, more than 500 more so far today, and 2 more boats are currently in French waters heading for the UK. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to over 9 small boats spotted off the coast. It comes as Spikiest warns the situation is deteriorating, threatening a visa crackdown on countries refusing to take back failed asylum seekers. French police have stepped up tactics, using tear gas in some cases, but also standing by as migrants launch dinghies into the channel. The Israel-Iran conflict has entered its 9th day, with strikes intensifying on both sides. Israel says it's hit dozens of military targets in southwest Iran, including a university, an emergency centre and a nuclear facility. In response, Iranian drones entered Israeli airspace earlier today as the region now teeters on the edge of further escalation. Iran has warned US involvement would be very dangerous as casualties continue to rise, over 400 dead in Iran and 25 in Israel. Well, it comes as there are reports that a British man has been arrested in Cyprus accused of spying for Iran and plotting a terror attack near a key RAF base. Local media say the suspect, linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, was caught with a long-lens camera and 3 phones watching the UK's key Middle East airbase. He was tracked to a flat near Limassol and arrested. Israel has said the plot targeted Israeli citizens and was foiled by a joint operation. The UK Foreign Office says it is in contact with authorities over what they are calling a spy in plain sight. Meanwhile, the Home Secretary is set to brand Palestine Action a terrorist group, calling their methods criminal and extreme. It comes after activists broke into RAF Brize Norton and sprayed red paint into the engine of a military jet. Counter-terror police are now on the case. The group has been behind a wave of stunts, targeting London offices and even defacing Donald Trump's golf course in Scotland. They say they were exposing what they call a blood-soaked tie between Britain and Israel's arms trade. Brought back from the surface, 10 months after sinking off the Sicilian coast. Mike Lynch's super yacht has been salvaged after an accident last August killed the British tech tycoon, along with his daughter and 5 others. A report found the vessel likely capsized in powerful winds. Crews used one of Europe's biggest maritime cranes to lift the yacht from the seabed. It revealed extensive damage to the 56-metre hull. The UK is sweltering in a heat wave and has hit a new high today at 33.2 degrees recorded in Surrey, making it the hottest day of the year so far. But as the heat peaks, a yellow storm warning is now in force across northern England, North Wales and the Scottish borders, with flash floods, hail and lightning possible overnight. And all this as thousands gathered to watch the sunrise at Stonehenge, marking the longest and now hottest day of the year. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you very shortly. Now, though, it's over to the Saturday 5.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Dr. Renee and I can promise you that you are in for another very lively hour. So let's crack on with tonight's main event. You have been voting. What do you think you want us to debate? Should Britain follow the US if it goes to war with Iran? Should Palestine Action Group be declared a terror group? Or is the new generation of weight loss drugs a good thing? Well, 25% voted to debate invading Iran, 65% voted for the weight loss jabs, and 10% picked the banning of Palestine Action. No. But I don't think that's right. I've just read out my autocrate. They're sabotaging me. They're trying. And actually, it's the other way around. 65% have actually voted to hear two people. It's going to be Christo and Kai debating whether or not they're a Palestine Action Group. So let's crack on with tonight's main event.
I think...
The government is moving to designate Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation under the Terrorism Act 2000. The proposed ban follows a high-profile break-in at RAF Brize Norton, where activists sprayed military aircraft with red paint into the engines, I want to add on there, because it wasn't just daubing the planes. Supporters of the move, including former Home Secretary Suella Braverman, say it's a necessary step to protect national security. But critics, including Amnesty International, warn that it threatens civil liberties and criminalises protest. Is this a justified security measure or an overreach that stifles dissent? So, seconds out, it's round one. Christo and Kai, which one of you is going to start?
I'll start. OK, obviously, the right to protest is really important, and the right to protest peacefully is really important. But there is a line, and once you cross that line, well, then I'm afraid it strays into the realms of terrorism. Now, in the UK, there's a dictionary definition of terrorism, defined as the use or threat of action designed to influence the government or intimidate the public for the purpose of advancing a political, religious, racial or ideological cause, if that action involves serious violence against a person or property, endangers a person's life or creates a serious risk to public health. That's the dictionary definition, which I would say that Palestine Action have actually fulfilled with their acts, not just this one, incidentally, but also, if you look at the Terrorism Act of the year 2000, the fact that they have now done this on a military base, just as if they had done this in Parliament, that then crosses the threshold of the terrorism legislation of that year to say that they are therefore committing a terrorist act. Amnesty International are talking absolute nonsense when they say that this stops the right to and criminalises protest. Protest is something that we are all should respect, whatever side of the argument you might be on when it comes to Israel, Palestine or anything else, just stop oil. The right to protest is important. But when you cross over into violence, or you cross over into violence that actually goes against the Terror Act, well, then you are a terrorist group.
Look, I agree, actually, that this is a massive...
Great, I've won. Thank you very much, Chris.
I agree with those who say that it's a massive overreach of anti-terror powers. Now, I think it makes a mockery of terror laws, doesn't it? When you call this bunch of sort of long-haired, unwashed leftists terrorists, they join the ranks of other prescribed organisations such as Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad Union, Al-Shabaab, ISIS. You could go on. These are obviously materially different to this group, Palestine Action. Now, it would give a chilling effect to the right to protest in this country. Now, they targeted property. I accept the difference here, the nuance, as it being military hardware. But I think anybody really comparing Palestine Action to Hamas or Hezbollah, whether or not you agree with them, which I don't, whether or not you agree with the tactics, which I don't, you don't have to agree with those to argue that this is still a deeply authoritarian move. And you can just imagine examples in recent years where this could then be applied by this government or other governments. What about far-right marches or so-called far-right marches that turn violent? Animal rights groups that in the past have broken into labs? Climate activists occupying oil rigs?
Right, I'm going to give Christo a quick back.
Group breaks into a UK military compound or parliament and vandalises or threatens, then yes, that is an act of terror. And what you are asking for is for people's right to protest to include the right to go and vandalise military hardware in the United Kingdom.
But your dictionary definition also covers violence against people, which many of these marches in the past have done, and people have been prosecuted under those laws. Now, what I'm saying is that this protest and others can be prosecuted under criminal law, which covers trespass, criminal damage, public order offences. It doesn't mean that they should be proscribed as a terror organisation and face 14 years in prison.
OK, right. I'm going to throw something else into the mix here and put it out to the panel now. So there is a report just coming out in the Times now that says that the cost of damage by Palestine Action could hit £55 million. Is that OK, guys?
It's not OK, but do you want to put a price cap on whether an organisation becomes a terror group or not? Is that our line?
I mean, Just Stop Oil did a lot of similar things, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
we have made them a terrorist group.
They certainly were a terrorist group.
Guys, you really got to think about it. I mean, what Kai said is right. You're going to put ISIS in the same category as what they've done. I mean, it just seems ludicrous. And you're right, a lot of the recent demonstrations will also be ensnared.
But
if you're talking about freedom of speech, it's a slippery slope.
OK, we live in a democracy, and if you don't like what the government are doing in terms of war or whatever, siding with Israel, you vote them out. That's how it works, OK? Because it's this government doing it. But these people don't like democracy, and they want to actually take action which is outside of the law. They have no respect for the law. They have damaged this plane. It will be taken out of action. If we get called to war next week, we may not have the planes we need, and that will cost lives.
So then I would have laws that are very specific. If military hardware is damaged, it might be a lot harsher. But I wouldn't. But I wouldn't have it under Terrorism Act because you're putting in the same category as ISIS.
But then, they don't act in the manner that ISIS would, because ISIS would very happily attack a military installation in the United Kingdom.
You know what?
All of those women in green and condoms.
Guys, you're talking over each other.
Stop. Just because something is very, very bad, like ISIS, and something is just bad, doesn't mean they're not both bad. This is all very common sense. But more to the point, there's a fascinating insight in what Trey is saying and in what Kai said when he was talking about his purple-haired, unwatched, smelly brethren.
His friends.
And that is, there is this double standard on the left. It's somehow, well, our cause is noble. Really, we're kind and compassionate. So if we're the Just Stop Oil guys doing the stuff on the roads, or if we're breaking into military bases, somehow our mission is noble. And it is always what you hear on the left compared to the far right who are Nazis or whatever. It is the double standard of communism v fascism, and you keep hearing it again and again.
OK, I would say, do you not think that these people are really lucky that they live in a country where they can break into a military base, go across it with their scooters, vandalise a plane and come out with possibly being prescribed a terror group? Because I promise you, if this had happened even in a Western country like the States, Poland, they would possibly have come out dead.
Well, I'm shocked that they didn't, frankly. Now, apparently Prime Minister Keir Starmer was told about security lapses in Brize Norton. Apparently some parts of the airfield are only protected with a 6-foot-high wooden fence. It's ridiculous, and I'm shocked that they weren't shot at sight, but I'm glad that they weren't. I think they were foolish. I don't agree with their cause. But, you know, maybe it should give us some pause as to maybe we need to respect our own military hardware.
I'll agree with that.
Maybe we're arguing with the wrong people.
I mean, I'll say this, so you know, I'm really being politically neutral here. I think for people, say, for instance, who are arguing against migrants, if someone was to set fire to one of those buildings, and we had incidences where someone did, they could also potentially be prescribed as a terrorist group. It's a slippery slope that will affect those on the left and those on the right.
Trey, there's a difference between a collective group that is centrally organised and random people doing bad stuff. That is the point here. This is a collective group with a clear ideology, and that ideology includes the tactics of hurting people or destroying things. This is, as Christo said, a dictionary definition issue.
And interestingly, you make a very interesting point about setting fires to hotels, because we currently have a woman in prison because she suggested someone set fire to a hotel. A mother, never done anything before.
Exactly.
These people are repeat offenders. They're en masse. They brag about it. They post photos.
And they should be dealt with by the law. But imagine she was also branded a terrorist. Can you imagine?
Again,
it's a possibility that
Do you know the definition of the word group?
Yeah, but Will.
OK, a group is a very loose definition. Anyone could call them...
It's a collection of people who are organised together. It's a very simple
So, for instance, the EDL back in the days, if they'd done something and someone in a march that was organised by the EDL, for instance, would have been designated a terrorist group. Some of the things that were then discovered, like the groom gangs, etc., would never maybe have not happened because have been designated a terrorist group. It's a slippery slope. Why give government that power where you can deal with it in the laws that already exist?
By your logic, an organised group could go into Parliament, commit some violent acts in Parliament and not be prescribed as a terror group. That would be ridiculous.
By your logic, we've seen lots of cases of protest groups going into Parliament and causing damage to property. I don't think they should become terrorist groups, but we've had a long history of causes that succeeded doing exactly that. I don't think they're terrorist groups.
OK, so we've got the softies on the left and sensible people on the right.
And you're unbiased in the middle.
I'm just holding this seat for Alex to come back. Still to come tonight. This week's triggered tantrums. But next, we reveal what's happening inside Britain's main migrant reception centre. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Bishopsthorpe Road, it's on the verges of York City Centre, and it was once crowned the best high street in Britain, but there is a new issue facing it, and that is...
the cost of parking. It's increased by, wait for it, 500%.
And they've done that overnight without consultation, right?
Yeah.
So it now costs £4.85 an hour, right? And that, what's that going to do? It's going to stop people visiting.
It's going to drive people away.
Anna, it's not easy to get around York, I have to say. You know, one road in, one road out type thing, congestion around the place. Yes, there's car parking spaces, but goodness me, I mean, this is obviously very, very controversial, and these are the sort of taxes, indirect taxes, that come on all of us. It's now going to cost us so much money just to get there, just to see there. Tell us more.
That's right, Eamon, and the City of York Council have introduced this to try and reduce congestion, to try and get more people on buses.
Extra things like this just mean that it's been unprepared, but also it just adds up, and it then stops you from doing other things. And you know, for people that haven't got enough money to eat and to look after their kids and things, I think it's disgusting, to be honest.
Thank you for speaking with us this morning, Karen. Really appreciate it. The council say that they are going to review these charges. They're going to look at them every 3, 6 and 9 months and start engaging with the local community to just see how fair these prices are.
OK, Anna Riley.
Where are you parked this morning, Anna?
We're parked here, £22.50 it's cost us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Now, please do get in touch at gbnews.com/your say and get your questions in for Ask the Five. I'm just going to read one comment, and it is Don Ray, because we've been mean to him, says, Kai has a beautiful speaking voice, in my opinion. It's just a pity that he uses it to express less than beautiful thoughts.
Well, I had one of the viewers ask me if I had recorded a voiceover.
OK, that's enough from you. So, new revelations from inside Britain's main migrant reception centre have raised serious security concerns as a whistleblower at the Manston facility in Kent say many boat migrants ask immediately when they get there, where is the hotel, highlighting migrants' expectation of accommodation upon arrival. Staff describe a system overwhelmed by numbers, lacking proper identity checks and unable to verify criminal histories. Under strict protocols, workers are reportedly told not to speak openly about their family amid growing fears for public safety and national security. To discuss this, I'm really pleased to welcome international security and border control expert Henry Bolton. Good evening, Henry.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, Henry. Henry, I read this story today, and I must confess there were many things that just weren't a surprise to me. The first one that we just mentioned, that the first thing these migrants ask for when they arrive is, where is my hotel? And that just reinforces to me, and I'll be interested to hear what you say, that the pull factors for people to come here are too great.
Indeed. I've been saying for years, literally years, and persistently, that if we don't, there are push factors why people leave where they come from. There's facilitation and, in fact, marketing and encouragement of the movement itself, and then, which is the criminals. And then there is the pull factors. What is it about the United Kingdom that makes this an attractive destination to come to? And there are a myriad reasons as to why that is. But we provide these people, without asking any questions effectively, without demanding answers, without confirming the answers that we get, we give people access to a whole range of services that other countries do not. Now, of course, we don't get all of the people who enter the European Union or cross the European Union's borders, but we get a pretty high proportion compared to other countries. So, that is the reason. It is because, indeed, we're a soft touch. Now, the security issues are also legion because, as you've quite rightly said, we have no idea who probably around 90%, 95% of these people actually are. I'll give you an example. Albanians have reduced slightly, but I'll give you an example. Albanians come from southern Serbia, the Republic of Northern Macedonia, Kosovo, and Albania itself. They all speak Albanian. It's all in the same region. They can answer questions as to sort of the towns in the region and so on. And it is only by having quite an intimate knowledge of the dialects that you can tell where within that southern Balkan region these people come from, which country. So then how do you get them back there? Because any country can deny knowledge, any of those four countries. So, we've got a mass of problems. And the only way to address these pull factors in a straightforward, simple manner is actually to detain them all, not in somewhere like Manston, and not in a variety of different types of accommodation, because they will compete, they will exchange notes, just as kids, in an exam will. If somebody's come out of an exam or of an interview, the people waiting to go in, if they get the opportunity, are going to say, OK, what did they ask? What's the answer? And it's exactly the same. So we've got to detain these people behind wire, ideally somewhere like Ascension. I know that's expensive, logistically heavy, but if we don't do that, then we are creating a threat to the British public, as is evidenced by the fact that the Home Office is telling its staff not to discuss personal matters, which is sensible, of course, with these people, as is evidenced by Keir Starmer's admission, basically, that we've got Iranian cells operate here in the United Kingdom. So there's a whole range of things that need to be unpacked, but we've got to secure these people, secure them until we can get rid of them, or they ask to go back to whence they came. And that means legal change as well. So it's complex, but it can be done.
I agree with you, Henry, to a degree, but I wonder, do we need to go as far as the Ascension Islands, which isn't really set up for these people? There's a lot of them coming, 1,000 since yesterday, and we would have to fly them there, which would be logistically difficult. Why can't we put these people into locked detention centres here until they are processed on site?
Because I think that there is still then, I am in the United Kingdom, I am on British territory, I'm here. And that is going to encourage them. And we are going to have, when they're sitting here, we're going to have protesters outside, we're going to have all sorts of things going on, all sorts of we have a succession of governments. And we have a House of Commons and Westminster occupied by people who frankly have no determination, no real courage. They don't have the will to solve this, and they will be then submitted to a barrage of legal and efforts and protests to see these people to see the whole thing softened, and they will compromise.
Yeah, fair point, Henry. Will?
Yeah, Henry, I agree. And this, of course, was a key pillar in the Australian response to this problem, where the government at the time said, look, by the time they hit the Australian mainland, it is already in some respects too late. Another thing that Tony Abbott said at the time is the very simple message that if you attempt to get on a boat and enter Australia, you will never, ever permanently settle in the country. I don't understand what is the reticence of the British government not to say the same thing.
Well, it's a legal one, just quickly. It's a legal one primarily. We're still in the European Convention of Human Rights. It's a political hot potato as to whether we should stay or should leave. Certainly leaving would remove a whole range of obstacles and legal opportunities to appeal deportation or the Australian model. One thing that's very important, though, if I can say, on the Australian sort of approach, the migratory dynamics down there are different to here. And the boats that were being used were robust boats that you could actually put a boarding party on. And you could take control of that vessel. You cannot do that in the Channel with a dinghy with maybe 40, 50 people on there. You can't, there's no room to get a boarding party on there and take control of the thing. So there are operational difficulties that make it different. And there is the legal context. Australia was never in the ECHR. So there are some differences, but you're right as to how you deal with the people who do actually get there.
Henry, I mean, everything you've said makes sense. I guess what it does is it takes us back to before July with the Rwanda scheme, which we didn't try. So there are people on this panel who will tell you it failed, but I'm not sure how you can say that when we didn't try it. Do you think if we'd have been able to get planes off of the ground to Rwanda, that would have been the deterrent?
If the legislation had been properly drafted, I know for a fact that the then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was briefed that there was a massive, or it's a small but very significant loophole in the legislation that was always going to undermine the Rwanda scheme. He decided to ignore that repeatedly. It's one of the issues Robert Jenrick resigned over. And as a result, actually, as it was the legislation existed, Rwanda could not work properly. However, the principle, the mechanics of it, yes, it could have worked to an extent, but we didn't have control over Rwanda. We do have control over our overseas territories, such as, tongue-in-cheek, we could have put them on the Chagos Islands and sold them all to Mauritius, couldn't we?
Well, I guess we could have done. I mean, I guess one more question, really. If the Home Office accept that these people are dangerous enough, that they're telling their own staff to not divulge where they live, where their families live, because they might be at risk, why are they then not a risk when they are released into the public?
Good point.
Of course they are a risk, but you're not going to get a Home Office minister admitting that they are releasing people into the public space who are a risk. We know that they are a risk. We know that across Europe, terrorist offences are being committed by asylum seekers. We know that sexual offences are being committed by asylum seekers at a higher proportion than, if you like, the domestic population. We know that a lot of these people in the United Kingdom go into work for organised gangs, particularly sort of running drugs around the country and so on. And just as a police officer would never, I'm a former police officer, would never divulge information about themselves to offenders, it's a sensible measure. But there is an underlying threat, and this acknowledges that threat. And there's another reason why we should be detaining these people securely. We have no idea, really, who they are or what threat they pose to the public.
Well, exactly. Henry, that's really interesting. Thank you so much for your time tonight and for joining us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
OK, everybody, so lots more big stories on the way, but now for your chance to win £54,321. That's our biggest cash prize to date. All of this is absolutely tax-free cash that Rachel Reeves cannot have, and it could be yours. So here is Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
So, still to come tonight.
Let's not do that.
Oh, let's not.
This week's triggered tantrums, but next. Why are pizza restaurants by the Pentagon making a killing? You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Can't wait to get out to sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The heatwave across parts of Spain, Portugal and France continues this weekend, with some places seeing temperatures peaking in the mid to high 30s or even 40 Celsius, so very hot indeed. Otherwise, and there are a few showery bursts here and there, but actually a lot of dry weather around, high pressure often in control. And if you do get any dry, sunny weather, well, it is going to feel very warm or hot indeed, and more sunshine to come as we go into the beginning of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. A decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still, the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers, though, will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher, though, compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Now, please do get in touch at gbnews.com/yoursay and get your questions in for Ask the Five. Thank you for your messages so far. I've got a couple here that I really want to read if I haven't lost them. So Big Steve says, the way that people complain about the heat in London every summer, it's no wonder our empire, stretching from Australia to Jamaica via Hong Kong, India, Kenya and Malta, was unsustainable.
That's right.
That's very good. And John Pitchfork says, asylum seekers are the ones who apply. The boat people are illegal immigrants. Remove the pull factors as a starting point. That is the root cause. Then treat any remaining symptoms if they are there. I think I agree, John.
Yeah, here.
So thank you for that. Now it's time for this. So, we have the bunch of five. Christo, what have you got for us?
OK, well, I'm sorry to do this, but can we talk about the repellent little runt, Sadiq Khan? That's what I call him all the time. Now, this week he announced plans on pedestrianising Oxford Street. Recently, he announced a consultation. Well, you know that that's going to mean absolutely nothing on putting up London's congestion charge. Pay per mile might be coming, not just London, Oxford. Also announced this week bringing in a temporary congestion charge. We've got low traffic neighbourhoods across the United Kingdom and a court case recently finding them not to be legal. Now, you might say get public transport, but in the last 10 years, that's gone up by 50%, and TfL's funding deal means a 4-year rise in fares. So why are governments stopping us being able to get from A to B? It's freedom, and it's a curtailing it.
Because, as you and I know and agree, they hate cars and they hate us using them.
But they hate us using public transport as well because they put them up constantly. So what are we supposed to do? Lock ourselves in our homes, never leave, and that's it?
Well, they've done that to us already, so you'd be surprised if they do it again.
You know, I agree with you. Will, what have you got?
Yeah, the British director Danny Boyle, he directed Slumdog Millionaire, and he's subsequently come out now and said that, on reflection, he would not have made the movie due to cultural appropriation. And look, some blokes are just playing 4D chess. This is brilliant. You go out, you get the plaudits, you get all the money for doing it, but then now you also get the moral credit for saying that you shouldn't have done it, which is such a common refrain from the left, isn't it? What do you think? Do you think this is a case of cultural appropriation? Slumdog Millionaire.
I first of all want to congratulate the person who wrote that strap, Dumbo Billionaire.
I've written that down myself.
I'm so tired of this cultural appropriation. I think it is, again, another way to divide us. You know, we don't, as I said to you, we don't moan about people in China wearing jeans. Leave us alone.
And it's a really good point as well about the people that have prospered in the UK, then slagging off the UK. Remember when Coldplay went on stage and said the UK is absolutely dreadful, and it's like, well, you've done quite well.
Yeah. But the other thing about cultural appropriation is it's one of the fundamental ways that you understand and embrace and engage with other cultures.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because, you know, in university I used to love Bollywood, like films like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and I don't think I would have cared who actually directed them. It's just, if it's good, it's good. And Slumdog was good. But what he actually did say is he would have got a young Asian director, which I get. There is some merit to that.
Talks
but
cheap
but I think the fact that he feels he needs to say that, having made a really good film, is a little bit sad, you know?
Very sad. OK, it's going to be me next. So I want to talk about Angela Rayner. You know, I love her so much.
Can we go back to Sadiq Khan, please?
So, this, in her housing bill and her renters' rights bill, which is about to be made, she's now decided that if you're a landlord and you put your home on the market, if you've ever managed to get your tenants out, it took me 20 months via legal routes, by the way, you then cannot, if the sales falls through and a third of sales fall through on these properties, and you decide, actually, I'll just rent it out again, you're not allowed, not for a year. So you have to go for a year without rent, and that's a property that's not on the market as well. You have to go 4 months before you can evict an errant tenant, or at least try, and they've got every protection now to stay for the first 12 months when they're in a protected period. Basically, Angela Rayner hates landlords, but everything she is doing is going to shrink the landlord market and push rents up.
And that's why we have literally sixth formers running the country with this sixth form type politics, because you're absolutely right. You know, I'm a landlord and I'm a good landlord, but I've sold up. I'm going to sell up my other one because there's just absolutely no point. Because if you hammer us, we will exit the market, which we've seen happening, and that means fewer properties, rents go up. It's just such basic economics, and I don't understand why they don't understand.
Absolutely agree. I mean, in my family, my dad's been a landlord since the 1960s. I believe it was 1964 or 5. And again, such a good landlord that he had so many tenants that didn't even pay rent. But at least back then, he could have evicted them if he wanted to. But I think now the fact that you can't... It speaks to what you said earlier, Krista. I don't think this country is all about entrepreneurship anymore, about growth anymore.
It's about envy.
It feels a little bit envy. Don't get me wrong, there are some bad landlords, I get it. But we're being hammered to the point like all of us landlords are bad, and that's not fair.
Legislate against the bad landlords. Don't penalise the good
ones.
Indeed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trey, what have you got?
So what I've got is a story this week about the lovely Tory party having what is effectively an identity crisis. So the story is that they have an alarming new language on Britishness, and I think I get the sense that what the Tories are trying to do is they're being squeezed from both sides. Labour is dominating the centre ground with calm, competent messages, according to this one over here. And on the other side, you've got Reform, who's actually literally taking their MPs. And I think the Tories, again, don't know if they're coming or going or if they've been. And I actually feel a little bit sorry for them, because it's like, where do they stand? Do they just want to take on language? But it feels like they've lost their identity. So rather than being Conservatives, they're more reacting to Reform or reacting to Labour, or even reacting to the fact that no one seems to be talking about them much. And it's a little bit sad, I think.
Yeah.
In fairness, I think this story is about 15 years out of date. I think they lost their identity about 15 years ago. The one lane I can see for the Tories, which they're starting to try and do, is if you've got the populist right Reform movement, if you've got the crazy left with Labor, they're saying we are the fiscally conservative party. Now, no one believes them at the moment because they weren't fiscally conservative in government, but there potentially is a strategic pathway to say we're the ones who are going to be sensible with money. I think
you're right.
But the challenge is I'm not sure that you can sell fiscal conservatism in the Western world in 2025. I think most of us are pretty happy just putting more and more money on the country credit card.
I'm not convinced. I think the pendulum is swinging, and it will swing.
I hope so.
I like Kemi, and I like the fact that she is not playing to the media. She's got her head down. She's trying to come up with policy, and I wonder whether she'll actually, though, suffer from the fact that we're so 24-hour wanting a new headline all the time, which Reform is filling that space brilliantly, whether people will just not be interested when she finally speaks.
Yeah.
Maybe. Kai.
That's exactly what's happening. No, my story this week is the Pentagon pizza meter. Now, this is a phenomenon that apparently 21 crises since 1983 have been predicted by this sort of index. And what it is it's a phenomenon that refers to a sudden, very observable change in how busy some of the pizza joints around the Pentagon, the CIA and the White House become just preceding a big international crisis. Basically meaning people are ordering their pizzas and staying in the office late. This is late at night, usually. And conversely, other locations, including Freddy's Beach Bar, which sounds great, it's a gay bar near the Pentagon, shows vastly...
And you know this.
Vastly less activity. No, I was told this by the internet, Renee. But I will make a beeline there. But I just thought this was brilliant, isn't it? And yeah. I wonder what other interesting phenomena there might be across the world where, certain joints get really busy and that might give give us a bit of a betting insider scoop.
I have a fantastic one, and it is the annual Pornhub Insights Report. So
I love it.
I bet you do. The Pornhub, the most popular porn website in the world, actually does a surprisingly insightful report at the end of each year, including things like when the Super Bowl is on or when major events are happening, how does porn usage change? They break it down by country. There you are. Go off and, there
are loads of statistics like that. You know, when the football is on, more women, if we lose, more women get abused at home, more women get pregnant when we win the World Cup. That's why there was a baby boom from 1966.
So the more pizzas that are ordered, the more chance there is of some sort of war or crisis.
Yes.
During my years of massive obesity, people must have thought I was arranging World War III from my living room. The number of dominoes I was getting, maybe.
No, but this has come to new prominence recently with the Iran war. There was a massive spike just before the bombing started.
OK, well done, everybody. So, still to come tonight.
You might want to be a little bit more grateful in future.
Trigger Tantrums is next. You know you love those. They're so good. But now you're with the Saturday 5, live on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, there's a reason it's called school term, and that is all those little kids should be at school, not elsewhere. Now, I know a lot of people find that difficult to comprehend because they're thinking, well, that doesn't suit me and it's cheaper to go then and whatever it is. But in my whole life, my parents would never have said, take 2 weeks off school or take a week off school. No. So I find this very, very hard to... It just shouldn't be part of the equation. You're at school. You're not on holiday.
Well, lots of parents would say, wouldn't they? They can't afford to take their children in half term because the flights have tripled.
Totally agree, but we couldn't afford it. So what did we do? We went to the local beaches in Ireland. That's where we went. So that's how you had your holiday.
So you just forego a foreign holiday.
Hold on, so the prices are going up. They make them more expensive
during the
summer holidays.
So
they take them out of school. So you get parents that will take them out of school during school term because the prices are so expensive during summer holidays, which makes it unfair.
We're not stupid. We understand that, but the law says you have to be at school.
Right, I agree with that. But don't you think it's disgusting that the price is so much more expensive, and that's the reason people are considering it?
It's not really relevant, is what I'm saying, because the rules say you're not available for these holidays, so you're at school.
Right.
But the companies shouldn't be doing that, should they?
Look...
I don't think they should. I don't think they should be allowed to.
I agree. I think
the only rule that comes first is that is school term. School term means that's what the law requires you to do. Be at school, not be on a beach in Ibiza.
But the temptation is there if it's so much cheaper and you couldn't afford to go during the summer holidays. I've never done that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up from 8 p.m, it's Ask the 5. Send in your questions through gbnews.com/yoursay. You're sending in lots, and I've got a few here because it's so hard to keep up with this. It's surprising. But we've got Jonathan Carson says it's amazing the amount of Labour MPs that don't understand economics, history and libertarian principles that will lead to a better economy. Look at Javier Milei.
Here. Well said.
And then Chris Bennett has said, can't we have a mass class action against the government using the ECHR for abusing our human rights, failure to defend us and protect us from foreign invaders? Now, there's an interesting thought.
Use it to our advantage. Interesting.
So, now it is time for trigger tantrums, which is one of my favourite bits of the week. You've got a free ticket to this week's... I've not even started drinking yet, guys. You've got a free ticket to this week's Ringmaster of Rage, Clowns of Collapse and Acrobats of Absurdity, tumbling over zilch. Just wait until you see this lot. Christo.
OK, so this is the debate that has come online. It's from TikTok, and this is people who are using the London Underground who are furious. They're girls using it, saying that actually it's really, really annoying that men aren't just giving them their seats.
I agree.
I am all for, if you are older, if you're pregnant, I hold doors open, I do all of that stuff. But I'm sorry, the fact that you are just merely female does not entitle you to a seat over anyone else. No, I draw the line there. And I'm all about manners.
Yeah. Hard disagree. Hard disagree.
Yeah.
Chivalry is not dead. It should not be dead. Couldn't disagree more.
You're just saying that because of your fan...
Yeah, fan base. I do not agree.
I am single, ladies and gentlemen.
One of his fangirls has said that actually now they prefer you to me.
I'm going to go to Will in a second, but I'm just going to say that my other half is so old-fashioned that when we're walking down the street, he always changes so that he's on the roadside to me.
Yeah, I do that.
Always.
Do you know the history of that? It is from the Victorian times with the horses and carriages, and you had all the muck and slop on the street, and so the male would cop all the mud being splashed up to them as opposed to female.
There you go. Well, Will, what have you got for us?
What do I have? Oh, yes. Whoopi Goldberg. Like, we could actually just use The View for all 5 slots every single week. They're that moronic. Let's have a look at what they're coming up with this week.
Throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is 2 days, 2025, is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
Yeah, the warped mind of The View. It is worse or just as bad being a black person in America as a woman in Iran.
I mean, look, there's not much to say to that, is it? It's ridiculous, and it's this denial. So I'm just going to introduce mine now, because the Oregon House of Representatives, you know, where they do serious political business, decided it would be really good to have this going on. Now, I know, Christo, I know that you're going to defend this as, you know, why not? But honestly, what on earth?
It looks great.
It does look great.
I've been to that club. I know them.
Why do our politicians feel this is acceptable? Why do we need drag queens doing anything apart from their act in a club?
I mean, at least they're not writhing in front of children.
True. That's true.
I mean, if you think politics is quite boring, it must have livened it up a little bit.
Yeah. What do you have against the fun? What do you have against
I've got
fun?
It's different, right? This is...
Parliament. Trade, do you want to give yours? Yeah.
So what I've got is a little bit different. This is Dan Bilzerian, the infamous king of Instagram, reflecting on the emptiness of a life filled with fast cars, private jets and countless women. I think what I like about this is because there's...
OK, I've messed up again.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
What do we do?
You're going to the extra hour, I'm afraid. It's not in this one. I apologise, people.
Something to look forward to, though.
He's been cancelled. I can't believe this.
It's been cancelled.
I thought we were uncensored on this show.
So, in which case, Will, I didn't give you much time because I thought we had to rush through that. So, going back to Whoopi Goldberg, this is the left trying to deny that real things, bad things happen in these countries that are theocracies.
Yeah, it's also just a shocking historical ignorance, right, and a shocking ignorance of the world around them. It's sad. It's sad, but unfortunately there are a lot of kind of clapping morons in that audience who agree with her.
But do you think they don't know?
That's a very good question. I'm going to throw to Kai because I can't really get inside the mindless vacuum that is the leftist brain, but Kai certainly can.
I think we've
He's taken it on board. He's just gone for it.
You know what? But we've had these kind of debates, right, where there's just an inability by both sides of the debate to hold two ideas in your head at the same time. Now, you guys know I actually don't agree with lots of the Palestinian sort of protesters. I believe in Israel, but I could also believe, as many Israeli prime ministers do, that they've committed war crimes. You can hold two ideas in your head. I don't think many of the left can.
OK. I just can't even answer that. So, now, it's just too much to deal with, Kai. I don't know what to say, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think you've got a drink coming.
OK, all right.
If there's someone who will drive you to drink, it is Kai will talk.
OK, so now, don't go anywhere, anyone, as tough as that was. Coming up, it's the Saturday 5 Extra. We're going to let our hair down. I'm going to get a glass of wine. Yeah. Anything can happen. What could go wrong? So get ready. We are going to be back in just a moment. And in the meantime, do keep sending us your messages that I will read. Send us Ask the Five, and we'll relax. I'll relax. Share a glass of wine, and it'll be fun. The weather is next.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming nights, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day, to decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day, so Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.